Something that's really been on my mind has been basically my relationship with absurdity and how I've been wielding it for positive change in my life and living more fruitfully and without kind of just an extreme, like, pessimistic view of the world and whatnot. Couldn't really sleep tonight. I'm sure I will at some point, but I I don't know, I just was thinking a lot, and I don't think thinking is necessarily bad, and when the thoughts do come, I think it's important to acknowledge them. But since I was little, like, I'm 25 right now, since I was about 12 or so, I always questioned my meaning and why I am here and what this all really means. And I remember asking my parents and people that I respected, like, kind of, what is death? What is the universe even? What is there in space? How can I even imagine the idea of like why is there even something? Why are we something that can think about even the concept of what nothing is? I don't know why we're here. I never did get an answer for why we're here. My parents don't know why we're here. We all are acting, playing this role of life and just kind of, everyone's faking it. No one actually has a concrete belief for why they're here. I think if you're practice religion, it can definitely provide a lot of relief with respect to meaning and purpose. I think that's great. For someone like myself, where I'm not particularly too religious, but I certainly am not totally rejected to the idea of spirituality or religious beliefs. I haven't necessarily found the belief structures that really resonate with me as an individual that can help make sense of my own reality. Because, frankly, I think the idea of there being so many religions is pretty good proof that no one fully knows what's going on. But each of us believe or can act like we know what's going on, but fundamentally, no one has the answer. And I truly think that no one ever will. And I think that conclusion really upset me for a while, because if you can never truly grasp kind of your meaning for why you're here and what your existence is, then kind of why even be? I think it spawns a lot of nihilistic ideas of the world about if everything is meaningless, then why even why even try? Why should I wake up and go to work every day? Why should I take care of my body and work out? Why should I eat and cook good food to take care of myself? Why should I engage in my relationships and giggle with my friends if at the end of the day there's no such thing as meaning or purpose for why I'm here? And if I'm all just going to one day fade away into some cosmic dust, then what does it mean for me today? I think through nihilism, it's if I'm going to die one day, then why does it matter right now? And I think that really bothered me. I am someone that has engaged in science my whole life, who has always kind of clung to it to help me try to answer some of these questions about meaning, because I was taught or sold or read that these physicists, these researchers have been working on a description to understand the universe. The goal of astrophysicists are to understand the universe, to push boundaries, to dig deep and understand. And, I clung to that for a really long time. But as of late, I certainly have disconnected from that notion that science is the end-all be-all subject. Because in a world without actual rational meaning, how can you actually expect to do rational discoveries? Every single discovery is met with 100 more questions. Each of those questions may have 100 different explanations, some of them better than others. And we agree on some of these explanations. We agree on gravity. We agree that electromagnetic waves propagate through space and time. We agree that space and time is warped with the gravitational pull. We agree that we're made of these electrons and molecules, and we agree that when you dig into a proton, you have quarks, you have these nuclear forces that are holding everything together. We agree that if you go back in time, you can go to a moment at the start of the universe. Through the lens of science, we agree on all these things, but yet we are not even closer to the answer. If anything, I would argue we are further away from the answer of meaning. Because back before we had all these insane discoveries about quantum mechanics and these things that don't even match our intuition of rationality and how we live the world. Back in a time before this existed, this new research of the new age, we had explanations of the world that actually made sense to us. We said the world is composed of earth, water, air, and fire. You know, I think that's a pretty reasonable explanation if you put yourself in their shoes for what the world is. It was grounded in kind of how we lived and how we felt and like our own experiences. These are the elements that we kind of saw and witnessed in a general sense. But then you're telling me each of them are made of atoms? Each of them have like electrons and etc. Like the level of abstraction that we are undergoing in our explanations of the universe, it's so so immense and disconnected from our own lived experience that we're not going to be able to even understand the math that we are trying to use to even describe the world. It's just getting more involved, complex, convoluted, and just kind of does not match our intuition anymore. And like I was mentioning, when you can answer a question in science, you can always ask why. Why does it do this? Why does it do that? Richard Feynman had a great video on it I watched a long time ago. The idea of why. In science, you can always keep asking why. Why this? Why that? Why are there electrons? How can science explain that? We are led to believe that science will teach us the explanation, and we say there are electrons because it makes like the element what it is. But why are there even elements in the first place? You know, like science can help teach us about the relationships between the existence of stuff. I don't think it does a good job about explaining the existence of stuff. It's good at the relationships, but not so much the actual existence. So, just to say, I have this nihilistic kind of view of the world and purpose. I've clung on to science my whole life. I've been rediscovering the major flaws in science, that it can't actually provide any like soothing of the mind to my nihilism. And then recently, within the past like year or so, something certainly has clicked in my head. And I wish I could properly articulate it and explain what clicked. But it's just the idea of like, yeah, science probably can't do these things. And I should not force the issue. And I don't think other things can really do it either. It'll lead to a dead end of explanation. But, you know, what I can do, take a page out of the absurdity idea of life, is certainly stand in the face of life and just acknowledge that it does not make sense, and that that's okay. Because we like to think that we're rational beings, and to some extent it's true. We always try to make an explanation for our experiences that we go through. We always try to make an explanation for our actions that we take. But it's impossible to form an explanation for something that doesn't actually stand in any logic whatsoever, and that is our existence. How can you make a rational argument about something that just is not even rational in the first place? I think understanding that deeply can truly kind of set you free to just live your life, to just exist in the face of it all, unbounded. And to some, maybe the nihilism creeps in and you kind of get depressed though, because what I'm saying kind of still kind of sad. You're like, there's no meaning. And I think it's true as a fair thing. And I think I felt that way for a very long time. But then, you can also flip the script a little bit. Be like, yeah, there is no meaning. That means I can create my own. And that means I can just enjoy my own adventure and the journey. And that means I can stop being anxious about every single social interaction. That means I can just be more playful with my life. That means that I can literally become someone new. You don't have to just limit yourself to your past personalities. You can actually choose to call someone and talk to them, even if you haven't done that for a long time. You're allowed to decide to do whatever you do whenever you want. I would encourage you not to be a dick about it and be a jerk to people, but you literally have the ability to kind of embolden yourself through the idea that there is no meaning, that there is no explanation for anything, and that you can truly just live the life however you want to live it. You do not have to conform to the societal norms of a 9-to-5 job, of working your ass off you have to pay off your car or whatever. You don't even need to own a car. You can disconnect from consumerism. You can just go outside and walk for a bit. You can, maybe you do own a car. Maybe you can stop rent for a bit and go live in your car and venture around the country that you're in. Of course, some people are in fortunate positions than others. And I think that is another interesting aspect that I think people should start to appreciate about their own circumstances. There's so much privilege in this world if you were born, especially in the first world country, that why are people even complaining in the first place? There's so many individuals that are suffering and they can't even partake in the exploration of the absurdity. They have to fight for their lives. And you know what we get to do? We get to have the luxury to feel bad for ourselves that life is too miserable because we're at our job or something. But we get to use it, explore life, find meaning in it. Do you love music? Go play music. Go live in your car for a bit. It's much cheaper than paying expensive rent. Go be smart about your money, how you spend stuff, and take risks. It'll always pan out for you. if you truly take a risk and you believe it, it will always pan out for you. Instead of like being scared about the risk, be excited about the risk. Because you can. Life is absurd. You can be excited about the risk. You can frame it more as an adventure, a journey. You're trying something new, engaging with a reality that you never thought could exist. You don't have to be terrified to do that. I mean, I should say you don't have to let your terrified mind stop you from doing that. You're allowed to be terrified when you take a risk. But in the grand scheme of things, you're not going to feel terrified in 200 years from now. You can't. You cease. And these actions that you take will just disappear. So take them. Take them now. Take them today. Do the thing that you've been meaning to do for so long. And especially because, so I was interested in science. I was always intrigued to being like someone to be remembered by their work or something. And, I thought that was like interesting because like I would read about Isaac Newton, for instance. I was like, wow, he has been remembered so many times and he's still living basically. Clinging on to this idea of life and living. Because I was in denial about kind of my mortality. But then it dawned on me, even though Isaac Newton's going to be forgotten, what happens 2 billion years from now if time doesn't stop? The sun's going to explode. The universe will change. Things will cease to exist altogether. Often when we think of being remembered, we think only like 100 years from now. In the grand scheme of things, what even is 100 years? It's nothing. So when we want to be remembered, we have this very shallow goal of like, I want to be remembered for as long as civilization is around. But then civilization will probably take a different form altogether or disappear with the bursting of a sun, So I realized as well, like, being remembered is not even a good goal. Because even those that are remembered will be forgotten. Because with enough time, everything will be forgotten. And so I think my natural conclusion was then as well, that just means I can be liberated from my own worriness about having to be remembered. I can just live in ways that I never even dreamt of living and make YouTube videos without care. And I can make these without the intention of having to be someone, I can just be me. I can exist in this absurdity. I can exist in this world. And I think that's an incredibly powerful realization to have. You can just do what you want. But the ability to step into this frame of mind it's a long journey, I think. Because perspectives, the way that you see your life right now and the way someone else sees theirs, it's completely different. Your life and your life experiences they make up how you see the world. And they are biases that kind of control you. So the ability to kind of step through those biases and what your own belief of your reality is. To step beyond that is so challenging, because to step beyond that is questioning basically your entire existence. When you're doing things that do not match with how you are living, when you're trying to take a risk, for instance, the only reason why it's a risk is because it's going against the way that you are seeing yourself right now. Someone else, your risk is their just adventure. They love this stuff. They love trying new jobs. They love betting on themselves and like reading. They love, like, I don't, just name something, you know? They love just being themselves in social interactions because they know that there is actually no risk to that. Because if someone around you suddenly didn't like you for being you, it doesn't bother you, because you can just, like, it doesn't matter, because it doesn't really mean anything if you hate me. I do think, again, you shouldn't be a dick or an asshole, but, you know, you can just be a lot more freed to just be. If you can kind of wield the absurdity for your own benefit. No one understands what's going on. You gotta wield your absurdity. And I wish I could come up with a better explanation for essentially how I feel about the world. Well, maybe I can. I really do think, for instance, art, or Zen and the art of motorcycle maintenance had a profound impact on my own perceptions of the world now. That was a book kind of about Zen for Westerners, speaking to our obsession with there needing to be rational explanations for everything at all, and justifications for everything. Science, rational thinking, the Western way, it's all much of the same. We all just have to do things just because it's logical to do them, you know? We are convinced that it's logical to work at a job because that's just what you do. We're convinced that, like, everything has to kind of be a part of this orchestrated game of society. And again, we are convinced that there has to be meaning out there that we are not clinging on to or understanding yet. And the approach of Zen, you know, just let that go. There is no meaning, it's just being. You exist. Enjoy the here and the now. There is no future, there is no present, there is the now. This is the life you're living. Embrace the absurdity of it and just live. Because Zen doesn't promise any explanations about our existence, but it does promise to just be. It's a super general description of it, but honestly, I think I can't be any more precise. Because even, like, you can't describe it through just, like, rational, concrete terms. You know, it's a feeling, it's a sensation that you can just exist. And it is a profoundly good one to have. And let me get this clear, like, It's not like I don't believe in science. I think science is wonderful. It can create such beautiful inventions for the world and help people in ways that other things could never. But I think when it comes to our own explanation for our meaning and everything, it's just not an adequate tool. And I truly think when you have a more spiritually guided idea of a meaning through either Zen or even like religion or like some belief, I truly think that that is a much more healthy approach to just kind of the idea of what is my existence. Because again, these ideas kind of embrace like this spirituality and all this, like embraces the idea of the irrational, the idea of like we just can't understand, so we have to just kind of surrender to the bigger picture. I think that's very profound and beautiful. And in doing so, I think can truly liberate your mind from the constant anxiety of just everyday living. There has to be a reason for everything you do. You know, so what? You just want to eat that tasty sandwich. Ooh, but what? You can't eat it because you gotta lose weight or something. I don't know. It's like, just enjoy. Not everything has to have a decisive reason or rationale before. Maybe you just enjoy it. You know, you can play with it too. You can go extreme Zen mode or extreme rational mode. But I think, to me, I'm finding there's a nice happy medium in between the two. I can choose to work out because I want to take care of my body, but I don't need to make it my entire existence. You know, I can choose to just take a rest day every once in a while and just exist. But I'm fading. I have to end this. It's like 2 a.m. now. I tried sleeping for like an hour earlier and I just couldn't. But I think this is just some food for thought. Just, you know, some casual dinner time conversation with your family and friends. But my younger self would be proud of me and the conclusions I came to. I know that for a fact because I am proud of me right now. You know, there is no explanation, and I don't think there ever will be. At least not while we're alive. Maybe there is one when we're gone. But for the time being, it's just about enjoying and appreciating the journey of it all, because that is the only thing that you do have control over. And with that, please do yourself the favor and partake in the activity that you've been constantly rejecting. Pause and listen to yourself. Where is your heart going? Where is your mind thinking? And if you're able to do that more often than not, I think you can live a pretty good life. But I'm Matthew. I'm fading now. I think it's bedtime. I'm getting sleepy. And I'll see you later.